Tama, once a valiant holy knight, met an unfortunate end, devoured by demons and seemingly lost forever. Yet, fate intervened. God, in a twist of irony, reincarnated him as a creature of legend, the Behemoth, an S-class magical beast reigning supreme among quadruped predators. In his past life, S-class monsters were forces of nature, capable of leveling entire nations. Now, our young man, reborn in this terrifying form, grappled with a new reality. He was a helpless kitten, utterly clueless about combat. The scene shifts to the bustling city, where Arya, an adventurous elf girl, prepares for her daily quest. As usual, she heads to the Adventurers Guild, encountering the familiar presence of the S-rank soldier lingering near the dungeon entrance. A poignant irony, from a knight, he was reborn as a cat. Yet, a strange sense of acceptance washed over him. Living like this isn't so bad after all, he mused. Fate had spoken, and so, the skinny cat faced his first challenge, a lowly E-rank slime, weak and arrogant. Initially amused, Tama checked his skills and discovered a surprising talent. Sneezing. With a mighty wheeze, the arrogant slime met its demise. Starving, Tama tentatively tasted the defeated foe. To his astonishment, the slime was surprisingly delicious, resembling jelly. Not only did it satisfy his hunger, but it also granted him a new skill, consuming and storing the creature's essence within his inventory. Meanwhile, Arya, embarking on a boat journey towards a nearby labyrinth, followed the usual protocol, presenting her guild card to the guards. Deeper within the labyrinth, Tama encountered a B-rank Veen, a weaker relative of dragons. With a swift attack, the kitten dispatched the creature, much to the astonishment of the S-rank soldiers. Tama, a force of nature unleashed, effortlessly preyed upon the dungeon's inhabitants. From cows to rocks, every creature was fair game. Even Orochimaru's legendary serpent, Manda, became a mere snack. Unaware of these extraordinary events, Arya navigated the labyrinth, using a special stone to unlock passageways to deeper levels. Stumbling upon a treasure chest, Tama, driven by curiosity, eagerly opened it. Inside, a magnificent magic stone shimmered, rarity even in his previous life. However, the stone was tainted black, a consequence of its fiery teleportation. Fate, it seemed, had thrown Tama into a thrilling, if unexpected, adventure. He had crossed paths with another S-class monster, a colossal dragon. The disparity in size was undeniable. How can I possibly fight something that weighs a ton? Tama pondered. Moreover, the dragon, a creature of instinct, possessed a strong protective nature. The territorial guard roared, "Do you wish to die, you insolent creature? Disturbing my slumber is a grave offense." Then, with a sickening thud, the dragon's claw struck. This is the end, Tama thought, struggling against the crushing blow. Miraculously, his newly acquired hardening skill mitigated the damage, but his legs were crippled. The Earth Dragon, surprised by Tama's resilience, prepared for another attack. But before it could strike again, Tama, in a desperate act of survival, sprouted wings and fled the scene, not before delivering a parting shot that enraged the colossal beast. Meanwhile, Arya, haunted by the memory of her rescue from demons by a mysterious benefactor, found herself drawn to the very location where Tama had been near death. Coincidentally, this was where she had first encountered him, a tiny, helpless kitten. She remembered the day she found him, injured and seemingly lifeless. She had nursed him back to health, carefully tending to his wounds. A young female student, a kind soul, had assisted her, making Arya feel like she was surrounded by angels. To her surprise, Tama, instead of fearing her, saw her as a savior. He was treated like royalty, lavished with a daily platter of 5 fruits. Despite being fully healed, Arya continued to care for him, a deep bond forming between them. In gratitude, Tama swore allegiance to Arya, vowing to protect her with his life. He silently followed her on her adventuring quests, concerned for her safety. Though not exceptionally strong, Arya possessed incredible speed, making her a formidable opponent against D-rank demons. However, their peaceful routine was shattered by the appearance of a mutated goblin wielding unexpected magic. Arya, taken aback, found herself aided by Tama, who swiftly dispatched the creature. Arya, witnessing Tama's involvement, was understandably shocked. "Why is he here?" she exclaimed. As a reward, Tama was granted a luxurious platter of 2 grapefruits, much to his delight. Later, while enjoying a meal at the guild, they were accosted by a lecherous adventurer, Casimir, who had long coveted Arya. Despite her refusals, Casimir persisted, his advances becoming increasingly aggressive. Enraged by Kazamin's disrespect towards his beloved master, Tama sprang into action, biting the man. He then unleashed a flurry of scratches, drawing blood. Kazamin, infuriated, attempted to draw his sword, but was intercepted by the guild's female guard, preventing further escalation. Anna reminded him of the guild's rules. No fighting. This woman, a former B-rank adventurer, commanded respect. They advised Arya to inform them of any trouble and praised Tama for his courage in protecting his owner. This was the second time Arya had been saved by Tama, so she named him Tama. From that point on, Tama was allowed to accompany Arya on her quests. Anna, overjoyed that her little M was on the verge of promotion, took Tama out for a playful romp. Her playful touches, however, accidentally landed on Tama's sensitive spots, eliciting a pained yelp. Tama realized his owner, though spirited, had a weakness for alcohol and a tendency to become easily intoxicated. He watched in dismay as she disappeared into the bath, feeling a pang of humiliation despite being a former knight. Yet, witnessing her generous curves, he momentarily forgot his dignity and followed her in. Arya, startled, asked Tamama if he could become stronger. Her hometown was frequently plagued by demons, and she yearned to become a sword saint, inspired by a legendary hero who had once protected her people. Tama, having heard the hero's tale, vowed to support Arya in her quest. The next day, as they strolled through town, Arya's kind nature drew smiles and greetings from the locals. However, their peaceful outing was disrupted by Kazamin, who, despite Arya's repeated refusals, continued to press his advances. Seeing Kazamin's aggression, Tama bristled with fury. Kazamin, emboldened by his connections with Baron Arya, had ordered a hit on Tama. Anna, powerless to intervene, pleaded with Kazamin, desperate to save Tama's life. Kazamin, feigning magnanimity, proposed a duel. If Arya won, the order would be rescinded. If she lost, she would be forced to become his wife. The duel, held under the watchful eyes of the townsfolk, was about to begin. Arya, a D-rank against a C-rank adventurer, was clearly outmatched. Though allies offered support, none dared to defy Kazamin's powerful connections. Seeing Arya's predicament, Tama resolved to fight alongside her. Kazamin scoffed at the idea of a cat posing any threat. The battle commenced. Tama, drawing attention to himself, allowed Arya to attack Kazamin, his disdain for the man palpable. He had chosen a secluded location for the duel, confident in his ability to escape if necessary. However, his initial attack was easily dodged. Fearing that using his S-rank skills would reveal his true identity, Tama relied on his natural instincts. Arya, anticipating his move, leaped to protect him. However, Kazamin, anticipating her speed, kicked her, inflicting serious injuries. The crowd, aware of Arya's exceptional speed, understood that she was outmatched. If Tama failed to intervene, they would all lose. Arya refused to surrender, continuing to rain arrows upon her despicable opponent. She was determined to teach him a lesson, to make him understand the consequences of attacking a defenseless elf. Tamama, realizing that using his full power would be unnecessary and potentially reveal his true nature, opted for a more subtle approach. He hardened his body, shattering Kazamin's weapon with a single, well-aimed blow. Then, with a ferocious roar, he sent Kazamin flying through the air, the sword hilt deep into his balls. The crowd erupted in cheers, celebrating the valiant defense of their beloved Arya. Whispers circulated among the onlookers, speculating about Tamama's true nature. Some suspected he might be an S-class Behemoth, but Anna and Arya, with knowing smiles, simply referred to him as an elemental cat. Despite the victory, a tinge of sadness lingered within Tamama. He was, after all, an S-class monster, reduced to the status of a pet. And yet, as he looked into Arya's grateful eyes, he realized that perhaps this life, filled with unexpected joys and unexpected challenges, wasn't so bad after all. A few days later, Tama woke up on Arya's large, round breasts, feeling like sleeping like this every night was truly great. This girl really enjoyed being Iron Man, and even allowed Tama to lick her cheek. This part is extremely sensitive for elves like her, but suddenly she felt like she loved the skinny cat more, and wanted to do it a few more times. Tama was shocked. He didn't expect the owner to. Later, the couple went to the familiar blacksmith shop of her friend. At first glance, they could see that this girl belonged to the cat clan. Recently, adventurers had been gossiping about Tama, so this woman also liked Arya very much. She proudly introduced Tama as her little elemental cat. She seemed excited and wanted to hug him. Seeing that this person was very kind and close to the owner, he also acted close, lying on the other person's chest. Although it wasn't as terrifying as Arya's, it was still enough for Tama to roll around comfortably. For the elf girl, meeting Tama was like a dream. He thought, I never thought touching a girl's breasts would be so easy. I need to ask what they came here for today. Was it about the weapon Arya placed here last time? Actually, she came for something else. She wanted this friend to make light armor for her cat. Hearing that, Tama's eyes lit up because he found this matter truly interesting. They shook hands and measured him because he was still growing, so the size would need to be adjusted to last as long as possible. After knowing that Tama had special abilities, Arya also invited him to explore the dungeon with her. Of course, he swore to protect his master. That whole night, he didn't sleep and was busy creating the armor for Tamama. The armor was finished the next morning. In general, because of his small size, it was done very quickly. Arya praised it, saying it was even cuter than before. He knew that his friend had stayed up all night to do this, so he silently thanked the two beautiful sisters. Then they talked about Arya's twin swords. Because of her speed, she needed the lightest weapon possible to maximize her inherent abilities. The materials will weaken the sword and make it more prone to damage. The elf looked sad because she still couldn't master the dual swords. She sought a solution and invited her friend to create a temporary team to fight monsters together. Observing Arya's fighting style, the blacksmith might have an idea for forging new weapons later. All three were present on the first floors. Vundsen, a C-rank adventurer, was still very strong. She used a hammer, wielding it with the strength of a beast. Seeing this, one had to admit that this woman was stronger than the members of the tiger-armed clan. She also possessed a skill called magic resistance that allowed her to absorb fire magic into her hand and then pierce the monster. Arya found it strange. After inquiring, she learned that it was a type of blacksmithing skill, like her own. People here called it the derivative skill. Suddenly, a lecherous pig appeared, smelling the scent of the conqueror. It drooled and desired them both. This time, it was Arya's turn to act. The sight of the target was disgusting, but she still had to fight the unpredictable pig. Having learned to fight since childhood, she was able to block its attack. Just as she was about to slash, the elf jumped up and blocked the pig with her indestructible diamond body. Taking advantage of the opportunity, the elf slashed at the opponent's head. Although they had won, Arya wasn't happy. She realized she was too weak even after leveling up. She felt like she was just pretending to be a warrior. She noticed that the long sword hindered her friend's movements, and she knew she needed to get stronger quickly. The blacksmith also invited her downstairs, where there were mainly slimy monsters that made her drool. She imagined herself fighting these creatures, needing to devise many plans. Hearing this, Arya cheered up and told the cat to follow her immediately. She used terrifying speed to slash towards the monster. However, this monster reacted very quickly, attacking with 8 arms. The big grapefruit girl found it very difficult to approach. If it kept moving like that, her owner wouldn't be able to defeat the hideous monster. Tama entered the battle and knocked away one of Arya's swords. Seeing this, she pushed her limits. After her body became slightly lighter, she fought evenly with the creature. However, she still had many weaknesses and was almost destroyed by the monster. Arya immediately switched to a short knife, and she successfully defeated it. It turned out that this was the most suitable fighting style for the elf. Tama realized that his owner's movements were very different from before. He felt like using both hands simultaneously would make her more confident. After seeing through the opponent's movements, Arya easily dodged and nearly cut off a few arms. Unfortunately, mucus was sprayed all over her face. Seeing this, she didn't want to go in. Tama heard his owner's groans and looked at her with wide eyes, showing resentment at being humiliated in front of the kitten. So he rushed in and launched a finishing blow, cutting the monster into pieces with a new skill. It seemed that after finding a suitable short weapon and accumulating experience, Arya awakened in the middle of battle. She saw the corpse and wanted to eat it to gain skills, but the taste was so bad and bitter. Luckily, she got what she wanted. It allowed her to mate with another species. The elf was shooting arrows endlessly, infuriating the corpse and leaving the other two helpless. A moment later, they went outside, and Arya explained that she had chosen a striped weapon because she admired the Holy Sword Lord when she was young. Although she knew she had no talent, she stubbornly used it. But now, to become stronger, she would give it up and follow that benefactor's example. Tama enthusiastically supported her, knowing that his mistress would surely become stronger. They needed to think about the next floor, but they must rest first. On this floor, there was a safe area for adventurers to relax, thanks to a stone placed by a sage. All creatures lower than A class dared not approach, so they could freely bathe without worrying about the surroundings. Looking at the stone, Arya suddenly remembered the time when the village was attacked. The blacksmith changed his clothes, so she took them all off. Thomas stood there, and saw everything but still maintained some dignity. He was trying to calm down when suddenly the owner called him to take a bath. He couldn't resist and had to swim with the two girls. The girl here, Arya, asked her friend what kind of team she would normally go on an expedition with. When mentioned this, she started crying because, in fact, everyone had already disbanded. She still hadn't found any new teammates yet. This little story tells about the elemental cat's ability to mate with other species. Arya is reminded to be careful, or she will be pinned down and get pregnant. She's still a child. He hadn't said anything yet, but when it's mating season, he doesn't know what she'll do. He thought the elf would be scared. Who would have thought that she was even more excited, hoping for it to happen? She also fondled Tama, telling him to grow up quickly and not take away her first time. He couldn't be happier with such a request, was shocked and shocked. Who would have thought this friend could be so lewd? Later, they encountered a large minotaur. This C-class creature, with its weapon, could be considered close to B-class. The blacksmith was only at rank C, so both sides would have to cooperate to defeat it. Arya initiated the attack with extreme speed, but she couldn't inflict any damage on the monster. She rushed in and swung her hammer, but the minotaur was large and carried a shield. The couple persistently scratched the itch, infuriating the opponent. The minotaur would eventually die after a long fight, but there was no need to risk it. The cat witnessed his owner's performance and was very surprised. Her breasts were so large, yet they didn't hinder her movements at all. The minotaur was blinded, its eyes pierced, it swung wildly, and the situation became critical. It was about to be crushed by rocks, but at the critical moment, Tama unleashed a wild roar, blowing everything away and saving them. The little girl was also crushed by the rocks. Arya was relieved, and then stabbed the minotaur in the heart. This was the first time she had defeated a monster of this level, so she was very happy. She considered him a strong male in the future and planned to ask for breeding rights from him after bringing back the resources. The cute older sister also praised the juniors. Anna looked at the stab wound and realized that Arya had grown stronger. She was happy for them. When they first arrived, the elf was very weak, but now she had grown so much. So the couple bought wine to celebrate this happy day. Just finished today, Arya was truly grateful to her friend for the invitation. She was in love with a rank B blacksmith, so she suggested forming an official team. In terms of personality, they were a perfect fit. With support like Vunson's, their team would be stronger than ever. Arya was happy because she had always played solo before. She stepped in to act as a bridge between the two sides because that lady also lost sleep that night when these two girls used 4 grapefruits to pin her down. If it were a normal kitten, it would probably be holding its breath. But then, suddenly seeing the Tamdu River in front of him, he was also happy, considering this life wasn't meaningless. Suddenly, the status board announced that he had achieved the second form of being. He still wanted to be like this more, but couldn't avoid being discovered. The next period of time for the three of them was extremely smooth, making everyone happy. After going out, the couple unexpectedly saw a little girl being beaten because she was an orphan and no one came to help. Arya intervened, making the two bullies shy away because they knew Tama was the elemental cat who had beaten man to death. The other girl was saved. She introduced herself as La, explaining that she lived a wandering life. The little elf brought her to a place considered a new home, a church that nurtured many children in difficult circumstances. They all knew Arya, so they also greeted her. La Ele's case was received by the nun. Tama, seeing his owner's nobility in entrusting homeless children to the church, often came to take care of them again. But Beam was more determined to protect this smile at all costs. A few days later, they were called to the guild by Anna for something. It turned out that today was the day Arya received her new rank card, so she congratulated her. But not long after that, she found out that the neighboring city was experiencing numerous disappearances. According to the information his sister knew, the main reason was demons, which made the three of them worry. Their actions were so obvious that it was highly likely they were plotting something.